Hello everyone, in this video I'll be going over a killer Sudoku problem. In the last video I actually did one that was less challenging. This one I think is way more challenging. Now the one I did was from, well, there's like specific calendar days that the killer Sudoku puzzle gives you. And this is from the 19th of November. As of recording this video, it's the 20th of November. So in the previous video I did the one for 20th of November, but it was way more simple than this one. And you can tell because there's a lot less hints given at first. So I only have, what, like 10 hints or so here. And I believe this is going to be a lot more challenging. So let's take a look and just jump right into it, I suppose. So I'm going to start off just doing what I can, and I'll obviously try to, describe my thought process as much as I can, but some of these things are a little obvious. So 5 plus 1 is 6. We have 1 plus 9 is 10. 9 plus 3 is 12. 4 plus 2 is 6. That's going to be a 3 by default, just right away. That's a 2. So looking for the single cages will help. So it's a 1. They're just kind of gimmies. And what I'm going for right now, what I'm looking at, and I'm just drawn to, is 3. 3 and 17 are really, really, really helpful because there's only one way to add 3 and 17. 3 is just 1 and 2, and there's already 1 there, so that has to be a 2. That has to be a 1. 17, you can only add to 17 using 8 and 9. Now, I can't tell the order, so I'm going to use notes here. There's 8 and 9 in some order, and similarly, this one is also 8 and 9 in some order. We'll get back to that later. Okay, what else? So there's not a lot, and this is gonna get a little annoying right away, or pretty quickly anyways. So, how about 8? How can you add to 8? So you can't use 4 and 4, obviously. 5 and 3, you can't use either because there's a 3 in this block. So either 6 and 2 or 1 and 7, but there's a 2 here, so it has to be 1 and 7 in some order. So I'm going to have notes on good and 1 and 7. Can't quite work out the order, and this is really how challenging killer Sudoku problems are. There's a lot of notes being used, which is very interesting, but also very, very challenging, of course. So in this column, we have 2, 8, 9, 1, 7, and 4 already occupied. So there's quite not that much left. So if you focus on this one, there's a 3 in that column. And I mean, I guess if you think about it, in the 3 columns that we have blank in this, or there's a 3 in that row, I meant to say. But if you look in this column, the ones that are blank that aren't noted or completely filled in, we are missing a 3, a 5, and a 6. So each of these 3 have to be 3, 5, and 6. Okay? The one we were just on with this 18 cannot be a 3 because of the row. Okay. Why can't this one be a 6? That's weird. I don't know if I accidentally tapped that or not, but this could be a 6. If it was a 3, then this was an 8, because adding to 11, and then 5 and 6 actually add to 11, so there we go. For 9 up here, it can be 3 and 6 to add to 9, which could happen. I don't see any restrictions here that don't allow that. Or 3 if that was a 6. And if it was a 5, we need a 4, but there's already 4 in this box, so that means that can be a 4, so that can actually be a 5. So that has to be a 6-3 pair. So, in fact, this has to be, well, I was going to say it has to be 8, 9, but we also have a 7 missing in this box. So this could be 8, 9, or 7, and this could be 8, 9, or 7. Okay. There's another really huge killer Sudoku strategy that I'll share with you in a moment, but right now I'm just trying to wrap my head around this particular puzzle. Here we have either 1 and 5, well, it can't be a 1 actually, because the one right here in this box, so it has to be 4 and 2 in some order, and we actually know the order because notice this 2 right here makes that a 4 automatically. So there we go, 4 and 2. 15, either 9 and 6 or 7, 8. I don't think that kills anything over here. Sometimes it, like you can reduce one of them because it would kill all these possibilities and it wouldn't be a thing. But that doesn't happen here. What about adding to 20? I mean, if you just look at all the possibilities we have in this single box, there's a total of 9 numbers, 1 through 9, right? But we have 4 numbers here that are already in this box, occupying the box. So we have 5 numbers that we can possibly have in these 3 spots. So 1 through 4 are out, so we have these 5 basically. How can you add to 20 using these 5 numbers? So if you had a 9, then you need 11. 5 and 6 add to 11. Okay, if you had an 8, so let me actually erase these just for kind of work for math. But if you had an 8, the other 2 must add to 12. And you can't add to 12 using, well, actually you can add to 12 using 5 and 7 actually. So it could be 8, 5, 7, I guess. But that's interesting. But notice we're using a 5 no matter what. And could you add to 20 without a 5 using 3 numbers? Well, if that was the case, then you would only use these numbers here. And once you have 6, it had to be 14, and 7 and 7 can't be used because you have a double in the box. So in fact, that's kind of interesting. There has to be a 5 in these 3. So if there has to be a 5 in these 3, then there's no 5 in these 2, which we already kind of knew. So a little bit of circular reasoning, but at least helps you understand the mechanic behind Killer Sudoku, or one of the mechanics. There's many. In 14, we can't have 7 to 7. It could be 8, 6, or 9, 5, and that's really it. Notice it can't be a 5 there, so that means this can't be a 9. So that's kind of interesting, but doesn't really do much for us. These two basically add to 12 in order to complete 15 with this 3. So we can see what adds to 12, but there's going to be quite a lot, and I don't want to fill up my notes too much. So now I guess I'll share with you one of the most advanced techniques with Killer Sudoku. So I'm going to look, it's going to be a little hard for me to say it out loud just because there's a lot of number crunching, and it's going to be a little hard to follow. But if you look here in this box, I'm focused on this one in particular, and I'll tell you why. All of the cages are contained within this box, except for this one goes out just a little bit. And since this box only contains numbers 1 through 9, if you add numbers 1 through 9, it is always 45. I'll just tell you that right away. There is obviously a math way to show why that is. If you add digits 1 through n, it's n times n plus 1 over 2. So 9 times 9 plus 1 is 9 plus 10, or 9 times 10, which is 90, over 2 is 45. Or you could just, of course, just add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's fine. So these add to 45. And this adds to, well, this is kind of beyond that. So there's a way to figure out what it is by adding up all the numbers in the cages, by finding the difference of that and 45. So notice the cages add to, so just look at the cage numbers. I see 10 here, 17 here, 12 and 14. So just add those. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So 10 plus 17 is 27. 27 plus 12 is 39. And 39 plus 14 is 53. If you take 53 minus 45, you get 8. So this has to be an 8. Notice, it didn't give me a red error. I haven't removed that setting yet. In the last video, that got me, but I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen and I don't make any mistakes here. So that is an enormous strategy to find, well, spots. Now, it's not always the case you'll have a setup like that, but it does happen pretty often. In fact, I'm sure when designing these puzzles, it's one of the things you kind of have to have, or else it doesn't really quite work all the time. This box here, it's quite the opposite actually. You have one missing. So this would need to add to something to complete 45. So we have 11 and 1 is 12, plus 8 is 20, plus 18 is 38. So we need 7 more to add to 45. So that has to be a 7. Wow. Pretty remarkable we can do this. What I'm drawn to now is actually looking at, it's a little hard to see, but this is a Sudoku trick. So you can use your notes or filled in values, and this 7 blocks out this entire column. Blocks out this entire column. This 7 blocks out this entire column. So in this box above, there can only be a 7 here. Awesome. Now we have 7 and 4 that adds to 11, so these two must add to 10. Since the other two are 8 and 9 from the notes, these have to be 2 or 1 to add to 10. But from these notes in this box, 1's already occupied, so this has to be a 2. Making this guy an 8. Making this a 9 from the notes. Making this an 8, so you have like a domino effect sometimes. It's really nice when that happens. Let's keep going. We didn't really talk about this 18 too much, but that's a 5 or a 6, that's a 4. If you remove 4 from 18, you get, or take 4 away from 18, you get 14. So how can you add to 14 using 5 and 6? And turn the notes on. It would have to be 9 and 5 or 8 and 6. Okay, and I don't see an issue there so far. How do you add to 8? Well, it can't be 1 and 7 because there's 1 and 7 in the box already. There's a lot in this column too, so I think 8's kind of known. It's kind of known what you would have to add to. It can't be 5 and 3 because of the column. It has to be 6 and 2, and there's a 2 right here, so this has to be a 6. Making this a 2, and that took away from the notes a bit. This has to be a 5, so this would have to be a 9 to add to 14. This has to be a 3. This has to be an 8. That's a 6. This is a 3. Whew, nice. We have 1 left in this column. So we just look here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is missing. Some people can just look and say, oh, 9 is missing, but I have to count. I'm not that crazy advanced. Well, it's really that I don't like solve these puzzles too often. There was one point where I did them like every day, and I just knew what it was after some point, but it still took a little bit of thought. So notice here from the notes, 9 was eliminated because of the setting I have, so that's 8 right away. This is a 9. Okay, so notice some stuff was erased here, so we only have 9 and 6 possibilities for this slot. So to add to 14, I don't think we can have a 6 anymore because we need an 8. So let me turn the notes on and remove a 6 here. Yeah. Good. Okay. This one's kind of long, and it's not like linear, it's a weird shape, so it'd be hard to use this, but I'll try. So 5 and 4 add to 9, and to complete 22, if you take 9 away from 22, you get 13. So what two numbers add to 13? There's quite a few. My notes are on. So to add to 13, remember half 13 is 6.5, so it's the numbers around that. So 6 and 7, 8 and 5, or 9 and 4. That's it. So these numbers have to be those. But notice, you can't have 9 and 4 because of the 9 above. And you can't have 8 and 5 because of the 5 in the box. So it has to be 7 and 6 in some order. Very useful. That completes a 7, that completes 7, 6 for this column here, which is nice. Okay. We can kind of use some other addition trick. So notice here, the numbers in a single column will of course be 1 through 9, which add to 45. This adds to 13 from this one, 7 and 6 of course, and then these add to 10. So if we take away, and these add to 17. So 17 and 13, that's 30. 30 times 40. So these two add to 5. Well, that's really, really restrictive. Because it'd be 1 and 4, 2 and 3, but it can't be 1 and 4 because of the 1 above. So it has to be 2 and 3. And if you look at the one below, right here, where I'm highlighted, it can't be a 2 because there's a 2 next to that. So this has to be a 3. This has to be 2. That was pretty advanced, I'd say, but you can see the thought process. It's just hard to recognize, okay? Okay, we need to add to 17 with these 4. That can be tricky because I looked at this at first and I'm like, oh, there's just 3, but no, there's 4. But that's okay. 1 and 3 add to 4. and we got to 17. So to complete 17, we need 13 more, right? Because we have 4. So these add to 13. How can you add to 13 with 2 numbers? Turn the notes on. Well, we already said it was, you can't use 3 because you need 3 and 10, so it's 4 and beyond. That's another way of doing that. Notice you can't have a 9, so 9 and 4 is out. Can it be 7, 6? I guess it could. And it could be 5, 8. Well, okay, it can't be 5, 8 because look, there's an 8, 5 right here above. So that means this can't be an 8 or a 5. So we can only have a 7 and 6 for that one. So that can't be 8 and 5. We can only have a 7 and 6 to add to 13. So that means no matter which one's which, I don't know which one's which, a 7 and 6 is blocked off from this entire row. So this guy has to be an 8. This then can't be a 7, or sorry, it can't be a 6 because of the 6 here. By the way, if it feels like I'm cutting off every now and then, it's because sometimes I get ads and I'm removing that from the video. So I apologize ahead of time for that. So this is, that has to be a 5, this has to be a 7, and that's good because it adds to 12, which with the 8 completes to 20 in the cage. Okay, so we're making a lot of progress. Oh, somehow, sometime that became an 8. So this has to be an 8, I guess. I'm just taking faith in the notes setting, I guess. So to complete 14, it must be a 6. Then this has to be a 7. I see the notes changing as I go along. That's a 6. So to add to 17, we can just fill in what these 3 numbers have to be. We probably could have done that a while ago, actually. So there's a 5 and a 4. That's 9. And then 9 plus 8 is 17. I'm looking in this column, and I don't see any of these numbers. So these are the 3. And if you look in the rows, the row for this one, you can't have an 8. The row for this one, you also can't have an 8 or a 4. And for this, well, this has to be an 8 actually, because there's no other 8 possibility for the above 2. Also in this row, there's no 8. Everything else is filled in. So this has to be an 8. This also has to be a 5, and that's a 4. A lot of progress. This puzzle's halfway solved, so it's like downhill from here. Okay. Yeah. It's just a lot. Okay. So if we look here, what's missing in this box? We're missing a 1 and a 3. So 1 and a 3 would be here somewhere. So I can fill it in the notes, I guess. Doesn't really matter. The point is, since this cage adds to 8, we need a 4 to complete that. So that has to be a 4. Also, there's a 3 here, so that has to be a 1. Making this a 3, making this from the row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're missing a 9 there. Yeah. And for 9 and a 12 cage is great because the rest add to 3. So that's 1 and 2 in some order. There's a 1 here, so that's a 2. That's a 1. Good. Look at this. This has to be a 7 now. Making this a 1. This is a 6. This is a 9. All right. Okay, to add to 15, we have 3 here, so these 2 must add to 12. So how can we do it? How can we add to 12? I guess we can look in this row and just see what these 3 numbers are. So I'm missing a 7, a 5, and a 6. So 5, 6, 7. That's what I'm seeing. Now notice to add to 12, you can't use a 6 with 2 numbers because you'd have a double 6. So it's 7, 5, 7, 5. So this has to be a 6 here. That's pretty useful. Okay, and this one, what's missing in that box, I think is a 5. Yeah. Okay. We're like done. I haven't really used that many Sudoku here. I've just used kind of killer Sudoku techniques, which is very specific, right? Let's look at the 8s. So I'm just going to highlight this and look at the 8s. You see all the 8s already kind of grayed out. They're like highlighted slightly. So I'm just going to make lines. I kind of did this earlier, but we're blocking out these. So here, this 8 blocks this out, this 8 blocks this out, and this 8 blocks this out. So what's not blocked out in this square here is this 8. So in other words, that has to be an 8. To add to 14, that must be a 6. 12, so these add to 10. Well, look, this is a 7. So this is a 6. Look at this column here. We're missing a 5. 5 and 8 is 13, plus 4 is 17. Okay, so what's missing in this box is a 3 and a 7, and that'll add to 9. Or add to 10, I mean to say. That has to be a 3 because of the 7 in that row. This is a 7. Yeah, this is like done. Let's look in this row here. What's missing? We have a 2 and a 7 missing. From the column I'm in, that can't be a 7, so it has to be a 2, that's a 7. 2 and 7, that's a 9, plus 9 will make 18 from the cage. There's only 1 missing in this column, so we can just figure out what it is. It's a 1. Okay. Yeah, this is like pretty obvious now at this point. So I guess we can just look at the numbers we don't have. So like, let's look at 5, for example. So I'm just click on 5. So one of these two is a 5. And of course, since we're adding to 9, it has to be 5 and 3. But you can look in this row and also see it's 5 and 3. There's a 3 here in this row, right there. So that has to be a 5. Making this a 3, making that a 7, making that a 5. That would have to be a 4, and this is a 6. And there we go. That was it. This is, I guess, a hard difficulty. I wonder if there's one that's harder than that. I don't think it tells you right away when you click on it. You have to like before selecting it, you have to select it first, and then it tells you the difficulty. So if there's one that's a lot harder, I'll do a video on that. This took 22 minutes, which was double the amount from the previous one, way harder than the previous one. I think the previous one may have been easy. I didn't even notice the difficulty once completing it, but it seemed pretty easy. So there we go. That was that. I hope you enjoyed. Like I mentioned before in the previous video, if you like videos like this and you want to see more puzzle stuff, let me know. And yeah, I think I may actually do that. So we'll see how this video does with views. I don't know. Right. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.